More like, man, what were they thinking?
Ouch, brutal.
Yeah, I need to get that out of the way in case you were going to do it. What do you got?
Look, I mean, on a related note, I've written this movie should be called Bloke Thingo What's It? Because and my first question to you, James, is at what point during the watching of this movie did you realise that it was filmed in Australia?
Immediately.
Yeah, the first millisecond. But of course, I think it really hammers the point home that this was filmed in Australia when we meet Sheriff Kyle, the main character.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's never been a small town American sheriff that looks more like he's from Byron Bay than this guy.
Well, that's the famous Matthew Lenevers. You might know from Offspring and various other things. We've also got Rachel Taylor in her first movie role.
Oh, before she knew how to do an American accent. Interesting.
It's ancestral land and it's sacred to the tribe. Well, I think standing up for your principles sets a good example.
Well, I don't think anybody in this quite knows how to do an American accent.
This movie, in fact, features a venerable and much lauded Australian actor named Jack Thompson.
Yes.
Who I love, but I consider him to have one of the worst American accents in cinema.
Yeah, out there in the swamp killing people.
Are you saying that his performance in the movie Broken Arrow as American General Number 3 wasn't to your liking and satisfaction, Mason?
Correct, James. That being said, there are quite a few strong contenders to the throne in this movie of the worst American accent.
Welcome to Caravan of Garbage, everybody. Now, of course, we are covering Man-Thing because Man-Thing recently made an appearance in the MCU in Werewolf Having a Good Time.
That's right. Now, you've said there, of course we're covering this, as if anybody knew it existed. Which I didn't. I don't. Or maybe I had maybe it was in the back of my mind that
Do you want some background?
Yes.
Well, you're going to have to give this video a like along with everybody else, Mason.
Clickety-click.
Great, thank you. So
that was a like and then an unlike.
That's fine.
Yeah, okay.
So,
and then a mean comment.
So this is produced by Lionsgate and Fierce Entertainment,
Ooh.
two lion-related companies, I guess, in certain ways, Mason. But the idea was that in the year 2000, the year of our Lord, Artisan Entertainment and Marvel Enterprises joined forces.
Strong words. Marvel was going bankrupt, probably.
Correct.
And decided to give away a bunch of their properties at bargain prices.
That they already hadn't given away. Like the ones like your X-Men's, your Spider-Mans, and whatever else. So what they did, they said...
The riffraff, the offcuts.
You're not wrong. Oh, well,
the effluent.
Well, not all. So there was at least 15 superhero franchises that were going to be turned into live-action features, TV series, and direct-to-DVD films.
Whoa.
This included Thor, Captain America, Deadpool, Iron Fist, Longshot, Power Pack, Mort the Dead Teenager,
what?
Ant-Man, and Morbius, who would have been in the Spider-Man universe at this point in time.
Ridiculous.
These fucking idiots.
That would have... Imagine the lawsuit that would have resulted if they had attempted... If Fierce Productions, or whatever they were called, attempted to make a Morbius movie.
So then...
Avi Arad would be up in arms or something.
Oh, I've got some Avi Arad stuff to talk about at the end. But so Artisan, though, they were bought out by Lionsgate in 2003. So as a result of this huge deal that happened, we got two movies.
Yep.
One was The Punisher, 2004, with Thomas Jane, which I maintain has a very good kitchen fight where he fights Giant Popeye.
One of the best kitchen fights there is.
There might just be.
Besides Marriage Story, obviously.
Very good, Mason. And the other one being Man-Thing.
Yeah.
Now, off the success of like Blade, Unbreakable, Spider-Man, X-Men that were around this time, they thought, you know, this thing, we thought originally, let's put it direct to DVD, right? I was going to say streaming. That absolutely wasn't a thing then.
They might have been attempting to put it on Sci-Fi Channel or something like that.
Well, it's funny you should say that. So what ended up happening is presumably a bunch of people looked at this and went, oh, hang on a minute. And so
this is a bit crook.
So this film premiered on the Sci-Fi Channel under the Sci-Fi Pictures label in 2005, despite being filmed in 2003. But theatrically, though, it did get a release in Russia, Singapore, Spain, Belgium, and the United Emirates.
Whoa.
Now, before we get into the story of kind of soupy guy in a swamp that's going on here, do we want to get into the origin of Man-Thing? And in terms of that, I just want to kick this off by saying the writer of this film, Hans Rodionov, had this to say about the script. Everyone should try and forget about Ted Sallis and the super soldier serum. Go in expecting something new.
Oh, no.
So, in the comics, right,
Yes.
and various other mediums where Man-Thing has appeared, which is very little.
Yes.
is basically Swamp Thing, though it happened after Swamp Thing, but also both Swamp Thing and Man-Thing were stolen ideas from like a 1940s swamp character.
It wouldn't shock me at all. I imagine, there were plenty of creatures from the Black Lagoon, etc. that, were big at some point in the history of cinema. The origin of Man-Thing is that there's a secret government project which is called, I can do this.
We're making a Man-Thing.
No, it's called like Project Gladiator or something, and they're attempting to recreate the super soldier serum.
God, they need to get over it.
No,
Find
they're
a new thing.
Nah, they're not gonna though.
Make a gun. Make a pretty cool gun.
That'd be sweet, actually. Yeah, maybe a gun with an eagle on it. A live eagle or a robot eagle, it doesn't matter. But anyway, and Ted Sallis is one of the lead scientists, along with Bobby Morse, Mockingbird.
Yes.
And of course, everything goes awry.
As these things do. Yeah.
And Ted Sallis is fleeing from some pursuers with one sample of the serum, and he's like, where can I hide this? I know, in my own veins. And he injects himself, and then he falls into the swamp, and then the mystical properties of the swamp combined with the super soldier serum turn him into this thing.
Yeah.
This Man-Thing.
It certainly is Man-Thing. And so instead of the focus of this being on the Man-Thing, where he's out for justice, it's some kind of swamp entity that comes to life. And I guess here's my problem with this terrible movie, Mason.
Go on.
There's no thrill or intrigue about what is happening here, because very clearly from the get-go it's, okay, the bad guys, they're poisoning the lake or the swamp or whatever, and the Man-Thing is running about.
Yes.
And as a result of that, like, I don't know why anybody is doing anything in this movie in and around the swamp. And I'm also talking about...
one of the worst places you could be, I reckon.
Well, I mean also like before...
Because it's gross in
Because it's gross, yeah. Even before the Man-Thing makes an appearance, there's like a couple by the swamp.
And the lady of the couple is like, let's go into the swamp, tee-hee-hee-hee. Why?
Exactly.
And then they make out in ankle-deep mud. What are you doing?
It's R-rated. We don't get...
boobs.
Yeah, but there's boobs in this, which, you don't really see in a Marvel movie anymore. Or ever, except for this, I guess.
No boobs.
So I think the thing about this is as well, it's cliche in a bad way. I think there's so much potential to do like a Marvel or a DC or any kind of horror comic book story in live action, and we've seen it, and we've seen it work.
Look, I would be happy to say this, James. If you're expecting this to be good, it's not. It's bad.
Yep.
But if you're expecting it to be bad, it's still bad and it's boring. But I think there's a bit of camp value to be had in this. I don't know if folks out there have seen Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, which of course is a classic British sci-fi fantasy parody TV series. But a lot of the ridiculous campy elements of that show are in this, just not
real.
Ironically. For example, a lot of the dialogue in this movie is ADR'd because obviously perhaps it didn't get recorded properly on the day or on set or on location.
The noises of the Sydney swamps where they filmed this there, yeah.
That's right. It's probably a Rabbitohs game going on just across the hill.
I love a coroner whose job it is to determine how this person died. And it's all delicate. There's a whole microbiome of information on a dead body. What happened here? And he's just punching a dart over the top of it,
Probably the actor was doing that. Due to union rules, they couldn't stop him. So,
big fan of that. It's also got like Saw-style quick edits and screeching, which is just not good and very unpleasant to experience.
The most prominent ADR in this movie, though, is whenever a phone rings, and it's just like your television's exploding. I'm like, what? That was the scariest part of this movie for me. Every time I'm like, do I owe somebody money? Oh, God.
Well, you say that you didn't enjoy the special effects of the Man-Thing, because I will say this. There are some very good practical dead body stuff going on here. When somebody's like skewered by something, and then when you've got like a prop body and it's half a body, or it's got a tree root growing out of its face or whatever. I think all that looks quite good. And despite what actually happened with the Man-Thing and what they were going for, and how the version that we're seeing wasn't supposed to be seen at all in this movie, I think it looks quite good.
I think it looks pretty good. You know what? I'll tell you what, James. Tell you this for free. If you were like an actor or a production crew member on this movie, and you've spent like most of your career working on a soap opera or working on like a small town crime drama where like 15 years ago, a kid pushed another kid into a creek or whatever, and that's the extent of the drama or whatever. I reckon you'd be loving this.
Totally.
Like, there's scenes in this, the actors are in this, they're chewing scenery, they're firing machine guns.
Yep.
You're a crew member on this movie, you're just setting a car on fire for no reason. You're just a burning car in a
That
scene.
car was burning so hot for so long.
For so
they said.
long.
What was the deal with that
I
car?
don't know.
Was there swamp gas coming up from beneath it?
Maybe. But there's this dude just blazing away on machine guns.
Yeah, it's good
just
stuff.
Piloting their own boats. Jack Thompson gets to pilot a speedboat at one point.
It's very reminiscent, and we did look at this, of the original and I guess the subsequent Swamp Thing movies.
Yes.
There's a lot of that, and I mean in terms of like, there's a murder in the swamp and there's a mystery to unravel. Because that's what this is all about. It's like, what's going on in the swamp? But again, it's like, it's a man thing.
It's obviously a bad thing, yeah.
I mean, and there's some police corruption or
Yeah.
whatever, or corporation stuff that whatever's happening. But just to get back to the man thing himself. So the group who worked on this, the makeup effects, were a team from Australia. And
Is it the home and away makeup team?
No, that's just a bronze spray tan.
Oh, yeah, of course. They put you in a booth, they hit the big red button, you're ready to go.
That's right. Hold your breath. This is poisonous. So this is from Nick Nicolau, who's a co-founder, as mentioned, of this group. He said, so the deal with the man thing was, it was nearly always brought in at the end of each filming day, and then we rushed through the shoot. So they were running out of time, and it was logistically also difficult to shoot the man thing on set because you're on a man-made swamp, and there's a person in the suit, and they're propped up in the swamp on like a box or a table, and they didn't have time to do any of the blocking or anything to make sense of what is actually going on.
Some of this movie has done it on the day energy, I'll tell you that much. There's a moment in this movie where Sheriff Kyle opens up a case and withdraws a shotgun, and he loads 3 rounds into the shotgun, but he's very obviously pretending to put the round in, palming it, and then putting it directly into his
sleight
back
of
pocket.
hand.
3 times he does it. It's maddening. Just do it behind the case, dude.
Yeah. Incredible. I love that, mate.
Yeah, right, it's good.
I didn't notice at all. I guess that's the power of cinema. You know what I mean? You're so caught up in it, you don't notice all the little tricks
So true.
that are going on. So, but the reason though this was the way it was is because what they made was supposed to be a creature that was going to be replaced entirely with CGI. So every meeting that they went to, they were told, hey, we just need something that's the shape and size of the man thing. So the suit will be replaced afterwards.
So we just got a local bloke in,
Named Ron.
Big Ron.
We covered him in moss and we went for it. And he said, we had a bad feeling about this as they were cutting the budget left, right, and center. So in the end, no 3D creature was made due to the diminishing budget. Our physical creature suit is in every shot.
Right,
so there is
yeah.
some like CGI tentacles waving about. And considering that this wasn't supposed to be seen at all, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Anyway, here's 2 bits that I liked.
Okay.
There's a section called 2 bits I liked.
Love it.
I
don't know if I can contribute 2 bits that I liked.
Well, I've already filled it up. I've already got 2.
Yeah. Look,
it's not called 3 bits I like.
Here's a bit that I like. One of the murder victims was called Steve Gerber. Steve Gerber, of course, did a very well-celebrated run on Man Thing. Also, he created Howard the Duck.
Yes, very good. This segment has now been relabeled 3 things that we both like, I guess.
No.
Yeah. The second thing that I liked, Mason, in this collective thing is where there's the big protest at the start. And they're like,
yeah.
stop pouring poo into the swamp or whatever's,
Sure, yeah.
whatever's going on.
Stop operating that one weird clockwork drilling platform in the middle of the swamp that we keep coming back to.
Oh, so
that we thought was really big, but it's actually pretty small when people actually get
When
to
you
it.
stand near it.
Yeah, it's small actually.
Yeah, it looks like something
that.
on like a high school production set.
It's
Yeah,
like something the Phantom of the Opera would emerge from behind.
as soon as I saw it at the start, I was like, yeah, we're going to be seeing that a fair bit. They put some money and some nails into
Yeah.
that. So yeah, Rachel Taylor, she kicks the cop into a puddle.
In his balls.
Right in his balls.
Yeah.
And then he's like, right, you're coming with me, you're under arrest or whatever. And she's like, what are you arresting me for? What do you mean? What?
This is
You-
America.
You
You
can't,
can't
do this.
arrest me, America.
Hey man, you kicked a cop into a puddle in
in
the
his
balls. I'm not saying you weren't right. I'm just saying you should be able to understand what's happening here.
Yeah.
And I liked the bit where there's a photographer in this who's constantly popping up in the swamp, and he's like, "Hello, I'm in the swamp."
I just love blurry bad photos.
Yeah.
Of nothing mostly.
And he wants to get a photo for Life magazine. And as he's running away and saying this at one point, the lead cop says, "Life magazine went out of business, you fucking idiot."
Hell yeah.
And it just felt like
Yeah.
it happened on the day.
Yes.
It felt real. I was a big fan of that. But I tell you what, I wasn't a big fan of the ending. So the Man-Thing, whenever the Man-Thing gets close to anybody,
Yes.
it tears them apart.
Yeah, which is interesting because
It's not that interesting.
it's not that interesting. You'll be honest with you. What? I don't know a lot about Man-Thing, the character. I've seen him in a few arcs. I don't think I've ever read like any of his full series.
Sure.
But the one thing I do know about the Man-Thing, his whole deal is whoever knows fear burns at the touch of the Man-Thing. That's his whole deal.
That's right.
Never burns anybody.
Never burns a goddamn thing. The only burning thing I saw was that car that was burning for a long time. So it's killing anybody, right? And then at the end, like the two leads are there, and it just doesn't kill them because it's coming up slowly, and then there's an explosion. And
Yeah, but I think the Man-Thing wanted to destroy that small drilling platform.
yeah, but
And
it's
once that was
literally
destroyed-
killing anybody because you know the dude who's like, I'm using my mystical powers of the swamp to stop the Man-Thing.
But the other guy, because there's two mystical guys.
Yeah, there's
Which
a
mystical
couple-
guy?
I don't know.
One of the mystical guys is like, "Hey, Man-Thing, I want you to kill me for some reason."
Yeah, but I feel like he was just killing anybody though,
Yeah,
right?
maybe.
Why did he kill the couple at the start?
Bit of fun.
Yeah, a bit of fun, I guess. Just a warm up.
That's right.
Just getting started. I need to stretch my tentacles
Yeah,
and
that's right.
roots.
And speaking of roots, it's a horror movie and they were having sex, so they gotta die. That's how it works.
That's very
and the
good.
Man-Thing is aware, all his consciousness is gone, but he is aware of the conventions of horror movies.
All his consciousness because he never had a consciousness because he was never a man. He grew out of the swamp because he's a mystical swamp creature.
Maybe.
Not maybe, Mason. We saw it happen.
Oh, yeah.
Remember he grew out? He's like,
Oh,
I'm a
yeah.
skeleton, blur.
What happened to the guy then?
The guy? There
Salas.
was no guy.
Wasn't there? They do mention him.
Nah.
Okay. All right.
Or they do.
They do, yeah.
Yeah. Here's some Avi Arad stuff, Mason.
Oh, I'm
if you
loving
don't
it.
mind. So, Avi Arad, of course, the CEO of Marvel Studios, he stated after this movie's release, people might know that he's famous for getting a lot of these properties, the bigger properties, off the ground. So he worked closely with X-Men, Spider-Man, but often his involvement will end up ruining a thing in the long
Sure,
term.
absolutely.
This is what he had to say. Credit where credit is due. He's done a lot of good stuff, I will say that. And he was involved in the MCU till Kevin Feige basically sidestepped him and got him kicked out. But he said the one hiccup we had was the one project we didn't micromanage. We were not going to the Outback. It's not. It was filmed in Sydney.
Sydney,
It's
yeah.
not the Outback, but there was so much going on. We will never do that again. We should never have trusted anybody that far away without our supervision. Thankfully, it was a small movie and not a disaster. If we were there and on top of it, it would have been an amazing movie. I look at the horror genres and I think, shit, I can't believe this. We've learnt our lesson. And I think lessons were learnt here, Mason.
That's right.
But the only lesson I like to behest on people
Oh, yes.
who come to these videos is give your parents a call. Unless they suck. In this case, just fucking leave them. Don't worry about
That's
it.
right. Put a kick me sign on their back. That'll learn them.
And the other of course,
Or throw them into a haunted swamp. Obviously, that could work.
is Green Trivia.
This week, I know, obviously, it's not called Green Trivia because Man-Thing is green.
You know
It's
that
just-
better than
It's just a
anybody.
coincidence.
Yeah.
This week, I was wondering if we could call it Green Trivia plus a supercut of that guy yelling Rodney a bunch of times.
Sure.
Supercut first?
Yep.
Rodney! 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 Rodney!
And now Green Trivia.
Thank you, Ben and Lawrence. Is that going to be the name every week? Green Trivia.
Supercut of the guy saying, I mean, it depends how good the supercut is.
I
I
guess-
remember him saying Rodney a bunch of times.
To tie back to what I said earlier, Man-Thing was actually created before Swamp Thing, even though Swamp Thing is the more popular character. They sued DC, but lost out, and this was probably due to the fact that they are both a derivative of the Hillman periodicals The Heap from the 40s.
The Heap?
Yeah, The Heap.
Oh.
Brett Leonard, who
Bring
directed...
back the heap, I say.
Bring it back.
Heap cinematic universe.
Big pile of heap. Brett Leonard directed this, who actually was the director of Virtuosity.
Yeah, Lawnmower Man.
That's right, and of course Highlander: The Source. Now I wanted to ask you,
Also a big hit in Russia.
is that one of the good ones?
No, that's the worst one.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
that Highlander 2? This is the worst one?
It's the worst one.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, Virtuosity, he's eating glass, isn't he? Love that.
Hell yeah.
And Lawnmower Man, 3D entertainment or something.
That's right.
Yeah. So much of the swampland in this had to be artificially created scenes is that, yes, it was filmed on location in Sydney.
In the Outback in Sydney.
That's right. And in Sydney, Australia, it's a it looks like a regular suburb, a lot of it. It doesn't have crazy swamp climate.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it can be pretty mild most of the time, but it's not ideal for a swamp setting, is it, Mason? So
Are we being sponsored by the City of Sydney Tourism Board?
We're not a big-
It's not a big swamp or nothing. It's fine. It's fine sometimes. Weather's fine, I think.
So the plants actually used in this weren't suited to the environment and resulted in a bad-smelling blue-green algae, which took over the set, which the crew jokingly referred to as the Blue Harvest. Now,
Oh, here he goes.
Now, funnily enough, Mason,
Go on.
just by pure coincidence, Blue Harvest was also the name, the working title, I should say, for the original Star Wars in 1977.
Wow.
And no other movies, I believe. Stan Lee makes an appearance in this. He's a missing persons in the police station, apparently.
righto.
I didn't see it. I saw that on IMDb. But I did see this. It's on YouTube. So
Okay, cool.
if you're worried, like, how could I catch this? Where can I watch this movie? Don't worry about it. It's right there. Now, the box office for this. You're not going to believe this. This shocked me. There was a $5 million budget for this movie.
I mean, you got to get all those plants to Sydney, so.
Yeah. I lied about the swamp thing. They didn't really grow a swamp. I mean, they built a set, but whatever.
You got to get Jack Thompson to Sydney.
Yeah, that's
Not
true.
where he lives, I don't think.
No, yeah, maybe. He was Clee Glass.
He was Clegalars.
You didn't know that.
No, I know things.
But of course, in its limited release, and it probably would have got some money for going to sci-fi, it made $1 million in total. Considered one of Marvel's lesser known and biggest disasters.
My
and I will
goodness.
say this, Mason.
Go on.
It's not very good.
Did you have fun watching it, though?
A little bit.
Yeah, I did.
a little bit. I mean, look, honestly, I love the Australian cast. A few other names. Alex O'Loughlin, Steve Bastoni, Ian Bliss.
My goodness.
He played Agent Smith. Remember, he was like, I'm different Agent Smith. I'm in the real world, bitch. I'm going to beat you up.
That guy did a great Agent Smith impression.
Incredible. Watch our Matrix videos. Mason.
Go on.
All in all, is this worth watching? It's on YouTube.
Give it 5 minutes. See if you're enthralled. Yeah. I don't know. As an
Oddity?
Yeah, as an oddity, but I think just an exercise in like watching a bunch of Australians attempt to be like deep South Americans.
Yeah.
You know?
See, I don't have a problem with Australians doing American accents. I can lean into it. But I think it just kind of like a virus. It kind of caught on and everyone was copying each other.
Everybody learned from Jack Thompson, probably.
Yeah, but then it didn't. It's like there was no actual Americans there. So it never...
A simulation
it never
of a
caught on.
simulation of a simulation.
That's what I'm saying, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Much like the man thing is a simulation of
Swamp and a man.
Ted Salas or whatever his name in the comics, but maybe not in this. I think he was in this, but you disagree. But
I don't disagree. I don't know.
Okay, great.
You're probably right, but I don't know. Anyways, this has been Caravan of Garbage. We do this every week. I just wish people had a way to see these early, Mason.
Well, they don't.
Mason, they do.
Oh, okay.
That was a prompt for you.
Oh, but they don't. Was that better?
Mason, they do at bigsandwich.co. It's like our Patreon. It's $9 a month if you are interested. Caravan of Garbage goes up there early. But in addition to that, our podcast, The Weekly Planet, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows, goes up there a day early, but that's also available on all platforms regularly on a Monday.
That's right.
But so much bonus content, isn't there, Mason?
You would love it.
We've got movie commentaries. We recently did a Deadpool 2.
That's right. Bonus podcasts.
We have bonus podcasts, a comic book club, a clickbait thing where we look at clickbait and go, look at this shit.
Can you believe this?
Yeah. Anyway, here's a hint towards next week.
Thanks
for watching, everybody.
Grab that gem, you guys. We will see you next week.
And goodbye.
Rodney.
Rodney!
Rodney.